You're saying that the CIA tested out drugs on foreigners. How were they able to successfully do that?
Well, the test that got Olson in trouble and eventually got him murdered, that he spoke out of school about, was a test that took place in August 1951 in a small French village called Pont-Saint-Esprit. That's in southern France, not far from Marseille. And the CIA funded Fort Detrick to do an experiment there involving aerosol LSD sprayed in the small village. That affected 500 people in that village. There were 3 suicides, and about 40 people were carted off to a nearby insane asylum as a result of that experiment.
August 1951. A quiet French town called Pont-Saint-Esprit awoke into something unreal. People collapsed in the streets, screaming of serpents and flames. A man leapt from a second-story window, believing he could fly. The town was gripped by chaos, and no one knew why. The official story? Contaminated bread. But what if I told you the CIA may have done it, on purpose? Pont-Saint-Esprit was small, quiet, and mostly agricultural. Nothing special, until the morning of August 16, 1951. What started as a few people vomiting and sweating quickly spiraled into horror. Dozens began hallucinating. One man claimed his belly was full of snakes. Children ran naked through the streets. Another man jumped out of a window, convinced he was an airplane. He broke both legs. An 11-year-old tried to strangle his grandmother. One postman ran for hours, screaming that fire was eating his feet.
300 personnes intoxiquées. Ah oui, oh là là là. Ça me rappelle un triste souvenir, très triste.
Il y a des gens qui étaient un peu, oui, ils étaient plus dans leur assiette, hein, ils savaient plutôt où ils habitaient. Hein. Des gens qui sautaient de leurs fenêtres, là, enfin, bon, bref. Oui.
Je crois bien que c'était le pauvre Puche qui avait dit ça. Bien cher, il en est mort, hein. Il s'était mis sur le bord de la fenêtre. Il dit, regardez les gars, je suis une libellule. Oui, je crois qu'il a dit libellule, il n'a pas dit hirondelle. Je suis une libellule, je vole.
Ils étaient vraiment fous. Ils voyaient que du feu. Ils voyaient que du feu, que du feu.
Il y en a qui se battaient, qui s'envoyaient des gifles. Voilà, ça je me souviens que c'était vrai. Hein.
Ils se débattaient tant qu'ils pouvaient, ils criaient. Oh non, c'est une horreur. C'est une horreur.
In total, over 250 people were affected. 7 died. Over 50 were committed to asylums. And the strangest part? All of them had eaten bread from the same bakery. The French government acted quickly. The culprit, they said, was ergot, a toxic fungus that infects rye and causes hallucinations, spasms, and even gangrene. Ergotism is ancient. In medieval times, it was called Saint Anthony's fire, a burning agony thought to be divine punishment. It's true that the town's baker had used contaminated flour. And the symptoms lined up, mostly. But something didn't add up. When samples were tested, no significant traces of ergot were found in the flour or the bread. And the victim's symptoms weren't consistent. LSD-like visions? Yes. But also violent seizures, rapid onset insanity, even short-term memory wipe. Strangely, the judicial case against the bakery disappeared without much noise. Files were sealed. The story faded. It looked clean. Too clean. In 2009, a journalist named H.P. Albarelli Jr. uncovered something chilling. A declassified CIA memo from the early 1950s. The document was linked to Frank Olson, a CIA scientist who specialized in chemical warfare. Olson died in 1953, 2 years after the Pont-Saint-Esprit incident. He fell, or was pushed, from a New York hotel window. Officially, it was a suicide. But many believe he was silenced after raising concerns about the agency's secret drug experiments on civilians. The memo connected the dots. Pont-Saint-Esprit may have been a test site. A field trial for mind-altering drugs under CIA Project MKUltra, a program that would go on to test LSD on hundreds of unwitting people across the US and Canada. MKUltra was a real operation. Started by the CIA in 1953, it aimed to explore mind control, using hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and most notoriously, LSD. They drugged prisoners, mental patients, and even hospital staff, without consent. In some cases, victims were driven to psychosis. Some died. Most never even knew they were part of an experiment. Could Pont-Saint-Esprit have been a foreign test run, 2 years before the program officially began? That's what makes this theory so haunting. Not everyone agrees. Stephen Kaplan, a historian who wrote a book on the incident, says the LSD theory is a fantasy. He argues that LSD wouldn't survive baking temperatures, and the symptoms don't line up. Others say there's no smoking gun. No one ever confessed. No orders were signed. But here's the thing. The CIA didn't leave receipts. They left shadows.
His objective was to gain control of my mind and train me to be a spy assassin. Dr. Green had electrodes on my body, including my head. He used what looked like an overhead projector and repeatedly said he was burning different images into my brain while a red light flashed aimed at my forehead. In between each sequence, he used electric shock on my body and told me to go deeper and deeper, while repeating each image would go deeper into my brain, and I would do whatever he told me to do. Dr. Green moved on to wanting me to kill dolls that looked like real children.
In 1984, I became a pawn in a government scheme whose ultimate goal was mind control and to create the perfect spy, all for the use of chemicals, radiation, drugs, hypnosis, electric shock, isolation in tubs of water, sleep deprivation, brainwashing, verbal, physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. I was exploited unwittingly for nearly 3 decades of my life, and the only explanations given to me were that, quote, the end justifies the means, and, quote, I was serving my country in their bold effort to fight communism.
On August 8, 1195, the U.S. President Bill Clinton publicly apologized for the secret CIA experiments.
Thousands of government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. In too many cases, informed consent was withheld. Americans were kept in the dark about the effects of what was being done to them. The deception extended beyond the test subjects themselves to encompass their families and the American people as a whole. For these experiments were kept secret, and they were shrouded not for a compelling reason of national security, but for the simple fear of embarrassment, and that was wrong. So today, on behalf of another generation of American leaders and another generation of American citizens, the United States of America offers a sincere apology.
MKUltra operated for 20 years before being exposed. How many tests were undocumented? How many stories were buried beneath food poisoning and bad bread? So what really happened in Pont-Saint-Esprit? Motive? The CIA had every reason to test drugs on unsuspecting populations during the Cold War. Opportunity? A quiet town, disconnected from major cities, with no media attention. Perfect. Method? LSD in the bread. Or maybe, as one theory suggests, it was aerosolized, sprayed into the air via delivery vans. Outcome? Hallucinations. Madness. Multiple deaths. No clear cause. No investigation. No accountability. To this day, no one knows for sure. But the pattern fits. The timing fits. The secrecy fits. And when you stare into the pattern long enough, you stop believing in coincidence. Pont-Saint-Esprit is still standing. But it lives with the memory of a mystery that was never solved. Was it moldy bread? Or was it something darker, a secret weapon tested on innocent people? What matters most isn't just what happened. It's that those in power can experiment and simply walk away.
Et exactement 21 jours sans dormir. Absolument impossible de fermer l'œil, malgré tous les calmants et somnifères que le médecin a pu m'administrer. Alors il est évident, quand on reste 21 nuits sans dormir, l'esprit travaille. Et ma jeune fille avait des crises terribles d'hallucination, se dressant sur son lit, voyant le sang qui tombait du plafond de partout, voyant des tigres qui bondissaient dessus, des lions, des ours qui venaient la dévorer. Et alors à ce moment-là, criant évidemment, poussant des cris terribles, des cheveux qui lui sortaient de la bouche. Elle avait toujours l'impression qu'elle avait sa bouche pleine de cheveux. Elle s'arrachait comme ça, n'est-ce pas, pour éliminer ses cheveux, qu'elle n'y arrivait pas.
Et vous vous souvenez de quelque chose, mademoiselle?
Oh, rien du tout.